The Return, Chapter 21. All I Want for Christmas. It was a very quiet Christmas party. Christmas gathering, hardly a party. There was soft music, food and alcohol, but no one was entering into the spirit much. A large poster showed a popular internet meme, a shot of Saam at his best, with a full head of beautiful yellow hair tied in a soft braid, looking over his shoulder unawares towards the camera. The compiler, some anonymous fan, had added a party background with mistletoe above his head and a caption that said, "All I Want for Christmas." The team weren't the only ones missing him. It felt like he had dropped off the planet. Johnson was at home watching his youngest daughter recuperate from her operation. He sent his best wishes, but, for once, his family came first. Maggie seemed just sad, Sally weepy. No change there. Matt was busy with something technical that nobody but him understood. Tim was morose. Roxy was actually working, still desperately trying to fit existing shots into her storyboard. More and more it seemed a complete waste of time. If something didn't happen in the new year, she would ask to transfer out. Saam was the heart of the team, and the team had lost its heart. They had gained Tigrum, who was trying to decide, if he drank enough, could he face trying to get his leg over Roxy. The others had tried to tell him that she was a lesbian. He struggled with the concept. He put it to Artem, is that really a thing? He was unconvinced and undeterred. As for Sally, well, as he told the other man, not unless he could gag her. Artem was drinking steadily and wondering what the fuck he was doing there. He could get drunk anywhere. Angry drunk. Otaku was in his office preparing a written report on everything he had heard said in any language other than English the last time they were in the consul's office. He stopped every so often to wipe his eyes and carried on. Nobody noticed much when Henderson put his head round the door and scanned the room, fixing finally on Tigrum. There was a short conference. The Kerris expressed some surprise, and they left together. A mere hour after they had started, the women were discussing whether they should parcel up the food to be taken home. Sally was bemoaning the fact that the watermelon would go to waste. She bought it because Saam liked it, even though Saam wasn't here anymore. That looks good. None of them had heard him come in. They liked Tigrum so little that they would have ignored him anyway, and they had not been expecting Saam. Sally threw her arms around him and squeezed as hard as she could, froze in horror when she felt him wince, give an oof of breath, and a tiny moan of pain. Oh no, I'm so sorry." Saam grimaced. "It's okay. Hello, Sally. Is some of that for me?" Sally was crying again. "All of it." She started jerkily throwing cut melon into a bowl, then fussily finding a fork and tissue. He was changed. The short mop of curls would take some getting used to. It made him seem even younger. He was thinner, quite a lot thinner. He had never been exactly fat, but now he was lean, and he looked tired and fragile. And the clothes, his signature white T-shirt and jeans, had been replaced by soft black pants, a dark T-shirt, and a black-on-black embroidered waistcoat. Expensive and beautifully cut. It was tremendously smart, but not like him at all. More like a Hanath. And of course, there was that earring. Saam greeted Matt and turned to Maggie, hugging her tightly and holding her like a grown child returning to his mother after a long separation. Closed his eyes, whispered, "Hello, Maggie." Tigrum, who was watching all this with interest, was moved, touched. Gods damn it, that was irritating. "Wait, I have something for you." He scrabbled for a few moments in his small backpack and produced an apple. The colour was unusual, rather more orange than apples normally are, with touches of blue. From the consul's garden, grown from seeds that came all the way from Hanath. Scavenged 15 years ago from a half-eaten apple in the food hall when the ship went down. The gardener gave me a lot of instructions about soaking the seeds in water overnight, and I've forgotten most of it. He gave her an apologetic look. She stroked his hair and then held a hand to his cheek. Thank you, I know what to do with the seeds. And welcome back. He smiled at Roxy and allowed Tim to give him a super careful hug, even though he was inadvertently standing directly under the mistletoe that someone had put up as a joke, as much for his clearly still sensitive ribs as for Tim's fear of getting an erection if he spent too much time in contact with him. Otaku's eyes were filling as he shyly approached him. Saam went to him and wrapped his arms around him, held him gently. "Hello, my friend," he said in Japanese. "Tor told me some of the things they asked you to do. I'm so sorry." Otaku wiped his face on his shirt sleeve. They smiled at each other. "I may puke," thought Tigrum. This was getting worse and worse. He had been planning to dislike this man. He had really thought he could pull it off. He was struggling. No Johnson. They explained Johnson's absence, and people started to open fresh, cold beers, one of which they handed to Saam. He turned and saw Artem leaning against a far wall and glowering. A slow smile lit up his face, and he walked across to speak to him. Tigrum was quietly saying to Maggie, "Way I hear it, he got in a fight and cut some bastard's face, and they asked him nicely to leave." He was chuckling. Saam called over his shoulder, "Close enough, and I can hear you." Tigrum frowned. His own hearing wasn't as good as that. Maybe Pretty Boy had some Nadiv in the mix. "We got you presents," called Sally. Saam, who had said no more than, "Hello, Artem," turned as she produced a basket of small wrapped parcels. He was no harder to lure away than any other Kerrip. At least some of it smelled like food. They had not expected him, but Sally had suggested this as a way of greeting him when he finally came back. They each bought some of the treats that he had stolen from them at some point in the past. Marshmallows from Matt, soft caramels from Sally. He struggled to open the packages. "Just tear them with your fingernails, boss." "I don't have fucking fingernails, Tim." Saam grumbled happily. "Help me." Once the caramels were open, he took one immediately and emptied some more into his palm. He beckoned Tigrum. "Have you tasted these?" Tigrum frowned and took a caramel, tasted it suspiciously. "Fuck, that's good." He laughed out loud. Saam stretched out his hand, offered some to Artem, away across the room, but he shook his head. Saam was drinking beer and eating caramels when Sally said, "But it's weird. I'm pretty sure that you were wearing nail varnish in the Havarian photos. How does that work?" "The what?" said Saam quietly. Sally explained that several photos of Saam performing something called Havarian had found their way onto the web. Matt made excited hand gestures, meaning that he was on it. Saam took another caramel and chewed carefully. Photos? He didn't seem entirely thrilled with the idea. "Did you think the Hanath couldn't operate a smartphone?" Tigrum commented. Saam was thinking more about what Kerris would have to say. He didn't imagine the consul would be pleased. This was a private performance in the garden of his home. Matt called up the pictures, Saam in costume performing. He stared for a while. Nothing too worrying. "What are you staring at, boss?" Saam raised his hands and waved them in a complex, delicate pattern, never taking his eyes off the screen. I wasn't sure I had that right. He considered a moment longer. "No, that's right." He nodded, seeming satisfied. "What was it you asked me?" "Fingernails." "No, just paint." Traditionally, the orator wore sharp fingertip extensions. Intricate silver metalwork, very light. They lengthen your hands, make the movements bigger, and they will take your eye out if you're not careful. But they didn't have those. So some of the women found some nail paint and painted it onto my fingers. And the gowns were actually yukata that Tor brought back from Japan. Tim, who had a yukata at home, said, "What, like a bathrobe?" Otaku snorted his annoyance. "Many people wear yukata in the summer, not just for a shower." Saam smiled, shrugged at Tim. "A bit like a bathrobe." His eyes said, "A lot like a bathrobe." Saam pulled on his beard and scratched behind his ear. "If I'd known how thin I was, I might have asked for some more clothes." "It's a dance?" asked Sally. "Well, no, it's more. It's an epic poem, brave heroes of olden times. The main character is the hero Havarian. It's a poetry recital, and there are a lot of intricate traditional moves that go with the words." Matt raised his eyebrows. "So that's a Hanath poetry reading?" Saam smiled. "Recital. Only children would read it out." Tigrum said, "That fucking thing is huge, isn't it? You learned the whole thing? That must have taken months of training." Saam was opening another beer, not really paying attention. "Hell yes. A lot of beatings." Sally hiccuped and then started to cry. No. Saam put the bottle down, picked up her hand and stroked it. "It was a long time ago. I can barely remember." "Sally, come on. You have to be tougher than this." No judgment, just reminding her. "Listen, would you give me a Christmas present, yeah? Please don't cry tonight, okay? Just for tonight." She nodded, and he hugged her, kissed her forehead. Matt started to call up the fan art that had been catching their interest over the last couple of days. Saam commented here and there. Many of them were fairly accurate. Then came pictures of dancers performing together, touching each other. Saam drank more beer and grumbled, "No, that's not. It's an art form, not pornography." Artem made rude noises from his spot against the wall. Saam looked across at him, tilted his head, made eye contact, smiled at him, jerked his head a little to say, "Come join us." Artem was slurring. "Show him the other one." Matt said, "We have a video of the singing, not the whole song, just the end." Tim said, "I didn't know you could sing, boss." Saam looked at him through his eyelashes. "You thought I was a kitchen slave?" Tim's face flushed. Saam dropped a light hand on his shoulder. "Sorry, Tim." Matt played the end of the song. Maggie sighed. "That's beautiful." Matt said, "I don't know about the eye makeup. You kind of look like, a house cat?" "I was going to say tomcat." "Tell them what it's about," growled Artem. Saam looked at him. Something was coming, tonight. Some explosion. He pulled on his beer. "It's a love song between two men. Two soldiers in a war, one much older than the other. The older one is killed and the younger one, laments." Sally said, "I thought the Hanath didn't approve of—" She looked sideways at Tim. "Same-sex relationships." "Not now, but this is, I don't know, over 1,000 years old." "Never mind all this shit." Artem raised his voice. "The other photo. You know which fucking photo I mean." He was no longer even trying to hide how angry he was. "Oh," said Matt, and called up one more photo. It was a poolside shot. Saam was wet, wearing soggy wet shorts a size too large for him. A close shot of him laughing, giggling, as Tigrum had said when he first saw it, a happy, happy boy. Another man, much taller and larger, was bending down from behind to whisper something to him. His face was not visible, but a dark braid hung down between them. Saam ran cold. Is that the only one? There were others, but they were taken down really fast. This is the only one we managed to keep. None of them show his face. Artem approached a little. Why do you care? We all know who it is. Saam pursed his lips doubtfully. Lots of Hanath nobles wear their hair that way. But that's Kerris, right? Artem was glowing with anger. What's he saying to you? Saam tried to think. So many times the man had teased him, made him laugh. He shook his head. Had he been able to remember, he had no intention of sharing it. What's the big deal, anyway? Artem said. So he flirted with you. They all like pretty boys, so what? He's a consul, the most senior Hanath that we know of, their leader. He's a valuable ally. Artem snorted, but Saam persisted. If you see any pictures that bear his likeness, no matter what he's doing, they need to come down. It's a serious breach of protocol. Did he breach your protocol? Artem was sneering. He turned away in disgust, resumed his position by the wall. Saam remembered something and went for his backpack again, pulled out a pack of cards. Larger than the common human ones, each one perhaps twice the size of normal. At first he tried to move a desk by himself, but a stifled groan of pain brought the other men, excluding Artem, scurrying around to do the heavy lifting. They set up a card table with chairs for all of them. Hanath cards? Tigrum frowned. A present from Tor, said Saam. He started laying them out on the table. But shouldn't we, Saam stopped him. These are the same cards we played with on the Vengeance. Did you ever see a Nadiv pack of cards? Tigrum shook his head. Artem, is there such a thing as Nadiv cards? But Artem apparently did not consider this a suitable topic for conversation. He taught them the values of the cards, their names, the rules. He donated his sweet collection for betting purposes, though he kept back some of the caramels. There was a lot of arguing, a lot of drinking and laughter. Saam won back all of his sweets, and then redistributed them for the next round, barring those that had been eaten. During a bathroom break, Tim was pushing past Saam when he looked up and saw the mistletoe. Saam looked up at it too, pulled down a berry to sniff it, then went to taste it. No, Tim took it off him. They're poisonous. Then why? Christmas tradition, if someone catches you under the mistletoe, you have to kiss them. Saam looked at him. Really? It's not a big deal. Embarrassed, he started to move away, but Saam stopped him, put one hand on his waist, another on the back of his neck. Then, very gently, he kissed him. A soft, sweet kiss lasting about 10 seconds. Tim told his boyfriend later that he couldn't decide whether to come, faint, or to have a stroke. When he stopped, there was a moment before Tim opened his eyes. Then he lifted up a hand to touch him on the chest. Could I? No, said Saam quite cheerfully. He was laughing as he moved away to fetch another beer. Saam took a beer over to Artem, careful to choose one he knew would please him. He looked up at the angry Nadiv. How are you doing? Softly, privately, in Nadiv. Where are your clothes? You look like a Hanath, like a carrot playing dress-up as a Hanath. Where are your jeans? I lost them in Osaka. Otaku, whose ears were twitching as he followed the conversation, glowered. The video of Saam's clothes being torn off still played in his dreams. Sometimes he was the one being stripped. He would wake in tears, sweating, his heart pounding. He knew Saam was brave, but that must have been terrifying. He wished that Artem would just get over himself. And that thing? He pointed to the earring. When does that come off? It doesn't come off without cutting the ear. I don't care enough to bleed for it. Ah. Artem was not satisfied. To be fair, Saam was not being completely candid. He also wanted to keep the earring because Kerris had given it to him, but he felt no obligation to say so. "I was worried about you. All your friends here were worried about you, and you were off playing bed slave to some fucking Hanath." Otaku and Tigram exchanged glances. Otaku picked up a pen, held it downwards the way Saam had shown him. Artem reached out, put a hand behind Saam's head, grabbed a fistful of curls, and smashed his own face into the Kerrips in a savage kiss. It could not have been more different from Kerris's sweet, gentle kisses. It was an act of aggression, a deliberate violation. Saam waited patiently for it to end. Unsatisfied, Artem released him. "What, you kissed the little faggot, but not me?" He had switched to English. He wanted Saam's little sycophants to hear this. The rest of the group had already seen and fallen silent. "Did he fuck you the way I do?" Saam shook his head, said flatly, "No." "What then? You show him what you can do with that sweet mouth?" Saam shook his head again. In fact, he had volunteered to use his mouth, but Kerris had not permitted it. It was not something he would ask of another man, he said. "No." "So what did the two of you do together? Did you braid his hair like a little girl?" Saam said nothing. He had indeed braided Kerris's hair. It was something of an honour, he knew, to be allowed to groom him. It was also a thoroughly satisfying and sensual experience, as was the sex that followed it. "You fucking did. You braided his fucking hair," Artem was yelling. "You must be so happy you finally found yourself a good owner." He was on top of Saam now, roaring into his face. "Finally got what you always wanted. You'll never be anything but a fucking He stopped, gasped a little. There was a spot of blood on his shirt at his midriff. Saam said, "You need to go home now." His face was cold. "You wouldn't fucking dare!" Artem roared. "You wouldn't cut me!" Tigram, behind him now, said, "I wouldn't bet my life on that. I think you're one wrong word away from being gutted. And by the way, if he doesn't cut you, I will." His own knife was poised at Artem's kidneys. One cut is all it would take. He would be dead in 2 minutes. Artem knew he had lost, but the unfairness of it all made him rage. "You fucking owe me!" He was almost in tears. The strain of thinking Saam dead, the waiting, the worrying, and then to see him laughing, happy, next to one of those bastards. "Yes, I do." 3 nights. "Yes." 3 nights. "Yes." "You gave me your word." "Yes." "Your fucking wannabe Hanath word." "Yes." "I call, and you will come." "Yes." "And you will do what I tell you." Saam nodded, didn't meet his eye, dropped his gaze. The shame of having that effect on him almost broke Artem. He roared in pain, "Don't drop your eyes like a fucking He cried out then as Saam's knife pierced his skin a little more, enough to really hurt. The spot of blood on his shirt was spreading. He was bleeding. Saam was looking up at him, into his eyes, ice cold. "Just don't." Tigram slapped him on the back, pulled him towards the door. "Enough for one night, eh?" Artem turned before he left. "You owe me. I call. You come." Saam nodded. And then he was gone. Tigram came close, said softly in ship-speak, "You might have to kill him." Saam nodded, unhappy. "If I do, it won't be here." "You should never have fucked him." Saam shrugged. "I needed him. There was nothing else he wanted." High price to pay for a language. I've known worse. He was taken aback as he turned to find Otaku behind him, holding his biro like a weapon. He frowned. I didn't hear you coming, he said. Tigrum laughed. Stealth! Otaku the ninja! Saam put his arm around Otaku's shoulders. Let's get a drink. They played more cards, drank more beer. No one spoke of the assault, the threats, Artem's leaving. Eventually, out of nowhere, Tigrum said, his voice a little slurred, Anyway, that's why I wear my hair so short. It was obvious that he was referring to the way that Artem had grabbed Saam for that awful kiss. Saam looked at him in comic perplexity. What, in case someone kisses you? His face was starting to look playful, naughty. Tigrum reacted. What? Say it. Go on, say it. Saam shrugged. I think you might be safe. Fuck you, fucking Kevin doll. Kevin doll? Saam was laughing. Yeah, there's a beach Kevin and a doctor Kevin and a Samaran Kevin with blue skin and great golden eyes with these long eyelashes and a dish mop of yellow hair, so you can use it to wash the dishes after you finish fighting intergalactic wars with it. You're famous, Goldie. Saam was laughing hard. Sally started to object to Goldie, but Samaran smiled at her. No, it's okay. It's what Samaran means, golden. Yeah, who calls their child Goldie? That's what human kids call their Labrador. I like Labradors, said Saam. I don't mind sharing a name with a Labrador. Saam got very drunk. He hadn't been allowed alcohol in weeks. Matt, who was beginning to pack up and leave, said, Are you okay now? Are you feeling better? He was looking for some reassurance. Saam was perhaps a little more unguarded than usual. He pushed his hair off his forehead with both hands and said, Well, it still hurts to breathe. My knee is fucked, so I can't run. And I still cry when I shit. But better, yes. He took another drink of beer, then looked around in surprise at the silent white faces. What? It was Tigrum who put him to bed on the cot in Johnson's office. In less than a minute his breathing slowed and he was asleep. In another 2, his arms had come up to protect his face. Otaku had fallen asleep on the couch, and Tigrum looked around for enough cushions to make himself a bed on the floor. Neither of them had anyone at home to miss them, not so much as a cat. They might as well stay and keep Saam company, keep watch. Tig had watched Saam's farewell to Kerris, saw him ask for a moment, knock politely on the door, enter, and bid the consul a formal farewell from the far edge of the fancy carpet. Through the open door he saw Saam turn to leave. Then that big bastard Lord Kerris, Hanath consul, came out from behind his great desk and stopped him, touched Samaran's face tenderly, kissed him like a lover, held him close, then kissed his forehead before letting him go. Since joining the team, Tig had learned far more about the Golden Boy than he had ever wanted to know. People really liked him. He was kind, compassionate, funny, a stealer of sweets, someone whose life had been a succession of pieces of tremendous luck, followed by catastrophic misfortunes, an awful lot of pain, even by slave standards. And now he was clearly in love with a High Hanath, who seemed to return his affections. Talk about doomed relationships. Tig shook his head. Some people just never got an even break. When first the fretting and then the screaming started in the middle of the night, he wasn't much surprised. He sat up and shook his head, meaning to head over to Saam's cot. But it wasn't Saam who was screaming. It was that funny little Japanese guy. And Saam, now wearing just his pants, was taking a seat beside him on the couch. Fuck, but he was thin. He ruffled the little man's hair and chatted to him softly in Japanese. You didn't need the language to understand what he was saying. Just a nightmare. Can't hurt you. Tigrum had seen just a few seconds of the videos that Otaku had watched. He wasn't surprised the man had nightmares. Saam pulled a caramel out of his pocket, blew on it, offered it to Otaku, who shook his head and argued. Then Saam, with all the care and attention he used with food, carefully bit the sweet in half and shared it. They laughed together, quietly, chewing. A little more reassurance. Then Saam lay down on the couch and pulled Otaku down beside him, his back to Saam's chest, put his arms around him like a loving father. Otaku offered no resistance. They were asleep in a few moments. On the way back to the office in the car, Tigrum had taken the time to look at the famous Samaran, who was every bit as beautiful as they tell you, more so in real life, where you can smell him and feel the warmth of his skin and hear him breathe. Even with that ridiculous showy hair sheared. Those eyelashes, for fuck's sake, never mind the actual eyes. Right now, though, he wasn't smiling or talking. He sat in the darkness of the car like someone who has just suffered a great loss. The sadness of it was weighing him down physically. His head, his back were bent, his shoulders stooped, like an illustration for melancholy. Then he sat up and turned that fucking smile on Tigrum. His heart was breaking, but he was smiling sweetly. It was awful. Fucking awful. Train fucking slaves, man. Tigrum, that's your name. You weren't... His eyes checked him out rapidly for markers, tattoos. Not from the vengeance. Tigrum saw at once what he was looking for. The Samsa. The Hanath ship, like he was embarrassed. It was a good ship, he said. Well, the engine room was. I was an engineer. Ah, but you're... His head went to one side. That awful smile faded, thank fuck. You're a fighter. Sometime he must ask Saam how he could tell. Yeah. The state slave on Karagath, worked on farming machinery, pulled a plough when the machinery didn't work, lifted, trained, killed a few Karahan, captured during a raid, ended up on the Samsa, trained in the engine room. Ah, you have my life story. Saam nodded, hanging on his every word, as if he really cared about him, what he had to say. And now you're with the team. How's it going? Tigrum wasn't good at all this bullshit, this kind of small talk. He huffed and said, Well, they take some getting used to. Saam laughed. Yes, they do. You will, though, get used to them. I've really missed them. There was silence for a few moments. Then Saam did something completely unexpected. He wept. He dropped his head, put his face in his hands, and cried. Soft, gentle, gasping sobs. After a few seconds, he wiped his face, took a couple of deep breaths, and took control again. Fuck, he said, completely normally, wiping the back of his hand across his mouth, flicking his hand twice as though dispelling bad spirits. I could use a drink. Mira came in quietly, as she always did, the following morning. There was work to collect, a thumb drive that Matt had promised to leave for her. She had been invited to the party, but struggled to believe that they wanted her there. They were all so much older than her, and all so sad. Even she felt it, joining the Samaran project only when Samaran himself was gone. There was pathos in that. Added to the fact that she had seen him several times on the Vengeance. Seen him but never spoken to him. Of course not. She and the other children kept their heads down, hidden, especially where fighters were concerned. But somehow Saam, she hadn't even known his name, seemed to carry a gentleness with him that made him less threatening than the rest. Well, most of the time. As Mira walked softly to her desk, she saw the obnoxious Tigrum lying asleep on the floor on a bed of cushions, snoring gently. She picked up the drive and turned her head towards the couch, stared. Saam was there, half naked on the couch, his arms around the little Japanese guy. Both dead to the world. All three of them clearly sleeping off a night of heavy drinking. Wow! That must have been some party. Perhaps she should have come after all.